Welcome to Surf Dudes with Attitude, a side project episode. We're going back in time to the year that California Dreams started in 1992. With me on this ride, my co-host, my friend, my comrade, James. How you doing?
It's me, James. I'm doing great, buddy.
Great.
I'm ready to talk about this, and like we were talking about the other week when we were speaking about this show. I was
Yes.
pleasantly surprised.
I don't want to bury the lead to anybody out there, but we are talking about The Heights today. The short-lived sitcom, definitely filmed in Canada, from 1992 to 1992. This was a show about a band. We have a lot to talk about, but the biggest thing to talk about is that when we asked James, like, hey, what episode do you want to watch? You were pretty much like, you know what? I just kept watching. I watched almost half the season because I was invested, and I was like, oh, okay. Not on my bingo card for here at Surf Dudes with Attitude. So the misanthrope of this show actually really enjoyed this. I had a really hard time getting through it, but we're gonna go into it. We're gonna delve deep. We're talking about the pilot episode because at least George is threatening us that he wants us to do an entire series talking about the Heights. I'm not convinced, but we'll see what happens with today's episode of Side Project.
Yeah, I again was just pleasantly surprised, and the way you guys, I had never heard of this show. Again, is another one I was completely ignorant to. I was maybe 4 when this show came out. Yeah, I was 4.
Lame ass 4-year-old.
I know I was pretty weak for not staying up on this Aaron Spelling
literally napping on this show.
But I was hesitant. Usually, like when I watch episodes for this show, I'm like, I'll play guitar. I'm playing guitar,
right.
So at least at the end of it, I can be like, well, at least I have something to show for it. You know, I played for a half hour or whatever. But there were multiple.
Wait, sidebar, Your Honor. Are you saying you just play guitar watching California Dreams now?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what's funny? I play guitar and take notes, and I don't miss a damn thing.
That's true.
I'm playing
you
guitar.
Were very thorough.
Yeah. So that being said, this I just kept playing.
You did.
I kept playing and kept watching and was like, I'm okay with this.
This is
all right.
Tough because this is only available on YouTube as far as I know, and the quality is for shit.
Super low.
The fact that you're like, I need to see what this says. There's no subtitles that are engaging me. Like you're probably blasting this at full volume because you don't want to miss any of the dialogue.
Courtney hates it. Yeah. She came back and was like, "What the fuck are you watching?"
Rather watch California Dreams. Got it. Okay. So yeah, we didn't know what episode we were going to talk about because we actually. I'm not sure when this is coming out, but we actually interviewed Zach Throne, who played the keyboardist in
Shout
the
out
show.
Zach Throne. Great guy.
And it was such a fun interview, and that guy is stacked as far as resumes are concerned.
Yeah, he's a monster.
He plays in Corey Taylor's band. He plays in Jerry Cantrell's band. If you heard a song in a TV show in the 90s, chances are he had something to do with it. So he also did the voice of Mark from California Dreams. That's where the thread came from. So he's been on SpongeBob. We didn't even get to talk about that. He played Jim Steinman from the Meatloaf documentary or the VH1 Meatloaf movie. And he looks so much like him, but I'm sure he was actually playing piano. I'm sure he was actually doing some of the parts. I'm sure he was fucking writing Total Eclipse of the Heart in that movie on a deleted scene that we didn't get to talk about. So he's in the show. There's a shit ton of characters. There's a kilometer fuck ton, since we're up in Canada here, of characters that we forget all of their names, but we have them up right now and we'll talk about them. And we should also talk about the rabid fandom of the show. This show is a cult favorite.
Well, and it was interesting even talking to him about like I don't remember the song, which we will obviously get into here in a little bit.
Do we have to?
Um, we do because it's honestly a major plot point of the first episode.
It is.
It's an unavoidable plot point. But I wasn't really familiar with that song either. I am a sucker for '90s alt rock. Like I
Ballads?
you
Are
know,
you a ballad
I wouldn't
boy?
necessarily say I'm a ballad guy, but I grew up on '90s rock. So like Third Eye Blind was one of my favorite bands for the longest time.
Can we talk
Live,
about that? I
I
never knew
love
this.
Live.
I've loved Live as well. I will not. Yes, they had
Super. I think there was a
their
band
own
called
playlist on my iPod.
they're great. There was that other band. I actually saw them play at a festival I was working called 90s Fest in Brooklyn. It was that band that was like, but you wanted more than that
Tonic. You're
good.
talking about Tonic.
They fucking ripped, dude. That was an amazing show, and like me being the contrarian,
Yes, I've noticed
I
this
have
about you.
I
Yeah.
have a soft spot for 90s rock. So like I as a kid didn't appreciate this, but as I got older and was like, looking back at the bands I listened to,
Yes.
they were a very popular band, even beyond what I thought they were popular. And
Probably
they're like
the most popular band with a rat tail. I would
almost
say.
certainly, yeah.
Yeah.
Even though I had a rat tail back then. I'm pretty
Is that
sure
why? Because Ed
Stephen
Kowalczyk?
Jenkins of Third Eye Blind had a rat tail too at one point, so it must have just
I
been the
will say, and
style.
If George was here, he could confirm. But my plans for Y2K was to go see live.
No
Oh,
way.
December 31st, 1999, we had tickets to go see live. And then Ed Kowalczyk, the big wussy pants, he got a throat infection and they had to cancel it. And I
So
never got
that's
to
why
see
you're
them.
bitter about live.
I
That
am.
explains it.
Hold on.
Yeah.
I digress. I want to have a whole other show based on Third Eye Blind just for you. I did not know this about you.
Oh,
And I
dude,
don't know what to feel right now.
that
But
may have been that was I think that was actually my first CD. That was my first live show, Third Eye Blind and Eve 6. I don't know if you remember Eve 6 at all.
dude, I'm a big X-Files fan. Of course I know who Eve 6 is.
But yeah, I that was some of the first songs I learned to play on guitar were Third Eye Blind.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to step back off this
I love,
ledge
I
and
love
talk
how,
about
yeah, exactly.
that.
I love how that just like depressed you and like made you reevaluate our
I
friendship.
just wanted to let it hang in the air for a second, but we're gonna jump back to the Heights. We're gonna go a little north. We're gonna go to Vancouver, where this was definitely filmed. Like I didn't know what to expect. I had heard of the show. I remember when we first started Surf Dudes with Attitude, I found a bunch of shows that could be possibly side projects, and I heard about this show from a couple people, and people were like, it's the show with that song, and let's just talk, because when you watch this pilot, the intro song is not the song that we're going to talk about, but for every other episode it is.
It's a pretty
And
beautiful arc, honestly.
shut up.
It really worked. Okay.
So the song in question that it's going to be the basis of the episode is called How to Talk to an Angel, and it was fucking everywhere. And like Zach Throne, when he was on, was talking about, he was like, it was inescapable. You couldn't go anywhere. This was my first slow dance at like fourth grade dance. So like it was everywhere. And I hated that song then. Even as a child, I was like, this is too wussy. This is stuff my parents would listen to. And then even now, as I listen to it with a little more appreciation of music, I still hate it. But I can at least appreciate the fact that nobody expected this song to take off, and the irony of the show getting canceled literally the week that it took off to be number one.
Well, it was funny to hear Zach's like, there was like the emotional component of like this show isn't going to get revived, but this song is, people were like recognizing him in the street and they were playing at packed malls.
That's just that is a thing that will never happen again. Like maybe like K-pop stars will get to a packed mini mall somewhere, but it won't happen in America ever again.
It was a simpler time.
Okay, so anyway, this episode debuted, called Talk to an Angel, August 27th, 1992. Just a few short months after California Dreams. And it was interesting talking to Zach Throne about this, where they didn't know about California Dreams. don't know if I totally believe that, but like it wasn't on their radar because I'm like, this is
Conspiracist.
basically the same show, but they're a couple years apart in age. So, first thing I noticed watching this show, one of the first credits, music by Steve Tyrell. Steve Tyrell does all the music in California Dreams. So there is another connection that we are blessed. So,
Well, and this is also worth mentioning. This is a Aaron Spelling show. So
yes.
at
So
the time,
there's going to be some crossover.
Aaron Spelling was dominating, teen dramas, and
90210 was in its third season at this point, and there's some crossover here that we're going to get into
and
that I was super excited about.
just the Aaron Spelling connection. I just
This sounds like a
assumed
punk band.
that it's a great band name. That is a great band name. But I'm actually shocked that compared to other shows that were out at this time, like what time slot was this in? Like how did they bone
I
this
don't
up?
know.
Because like Aaron Spelling, anything he touched at that time was like, TV gold.
Yes.
Guaranteed syndication,
Mm-hmm. And I think maybe that's why, like, overall, I did not like this show. I appreciated that it's way more band centric than California Dreams has been, and it's way more realistic. A lot of these people can actually play, whereas people on California Dreams can play, but these guys just seemed a little more pro at it. But it was so melodramatic, and there's so many characters, and it took itself very seriously. I liked it did really remind me of 90210 where it was very self-important,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
I only saw the pilot. We might watch more. James is now the heights expert.
Well, you didn't give the characters time to develop. Okay, you can
there's
only
so many
flesh
characters.
out.
I don't know any of the names are of these characters. I do you off the top of your head?
No, it was way too much. It was way too much. Like honestly, when I was watching this, even the first episode, I was like, "Is there an episode before this one?" Because I feel like some stuff
they
has been
just dropped this
established
in.
that
Okay.
I'm not aware of.
So we see an intro theme song, and they're introducing everybody,
Wait.
but it's very hard to tell.
Do you know if this is supposed to take place like in Vancouver, or is this they were filming in Vancouver because it was cheap, and it's supposed to be New York or Boston? Or
I thought it was supposed to be New York, but it could be like any town, USA.
big
but
town
it definitely,
USA, right?
It
Yeah, exactly.
definitely looked like a city of some sort. But definitely filmed in very, very Canadian feeling. And Zach Throne was talking about how all the day players were all Canadian. So they imported a couple Americans to offset all the boots and the hooses. So all the Newfie accents that crept in.
But
But
craft services was exclusively poutine.
I think it was. I think Timmy Hortons was catered every single day. So we get introduced to a couple of these people in there. Immediately we see the cool guy, the Jake Summers of the show, basically like a cool guy motorcycle jacket, eyeing up some teenage girls, like some high school girls, and I'm like, okay, we're in. And then we immediately go to a loft. A beautiful loft. It's one of those 90s lofts that maybe don't ever really exist, of like huge lofts, probably paid 400 loonies and toonies a month to live there.
Yeah, for sure. And this is just their rental space, right? This is just nobody lives here, right?
I was like, fuck, that's even worse. Like they have gorgeous fucking like National Lampoon's Loaded Weapon 1 kind of mansion house in addition to this, but I was trying to look at the loft. I thought it was more like people live there as well, and they also practice there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the makeup of this band, the show is about a band and all the strife and the that comes with that. So we definitely have a keyboard player played by Zach Throne, who we'll keep talking about because he's the only celebrity on here. Electric guitar, bass, acoustic guitar, a drummer, and a sax player. So we're already at 6 people in this fucking band. All right. This is a lot. I don't know. Have you ever been in a band with 6 people?
No, and I hope that I'm never in a band with 6 people because that sounds like a fucking nightmare.
It sounds like a ska band, is what it
Yeah,
sounds like.
no, quite literally. The saxophones definitely drive it home, but also, that's 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's not. I'm trying to think of the bands even that when I was a kid and I would see a band, there'd be, more people than I'd ever want in a band.
Sure. I mean, I gotta preface this to like, this is twice as long as a California Dreams episode. A lot happens. We're not gonna take it scene by scene, beat by beat like we normally do. Like, I want to kind of get your thoughts on the overall arc of this. There's kind of a main plot point where one of the band members gets a girl pregnant, and then he has to decide whether to marry her. And there's also some tension in the band. There's some will they, won't they. Both the acoustic guitar player and the lead guitar player have the exact same haircut. It's very hard to tell them apart. Um, and I don't know. I'm talking too much. Just interrupt me if I'm missing. There's
No,
a
no, no.
lot
Keep
going
keep
on.
doing. I'm gonna pull up the IMDb, but go ahead, keep talking.
Okay, well, to me, there's to the point that every single of the 6 characters just in the band get basically their own plot. And then there's all these side characters too. We get to meet the families of some of these characters. We get to meet the family of the girl that gets pregnant that's not even in the band. So we are 3 parts removed, and I'm like, I just want to see when they play a G chord if it's actually a G chord. But no, we are dealing with a lot, to the point that the bass player in the band, played by Alex Desert, forget his name. He's in Swingers. He's been in a bunch of
He's
stuff.
in a bunch of stuff. Yeah, he's
He's
actually a
he
big
was the
name.
blind guy in Becker, which
Yep,
is
there
one of
you
your
go.
favorite shows. Yeah,
Yep.
his name is Stan Lee in this show.
I didn't realize that, and that's
Yes,
hilarious.
it's like out of nowhere, I was like, okay, well, I'm finally getting a grip on who everybody is. And then he's walking across a basketball court, and then some guy's like, don't go over there with those white people. Like, what are you doing, man? You got to come to our side. I was like, I can't deal with another subplot. Let's get this together, everybody. This is a lot. I think they just threw a lot of fucking spaghettios at the wall, and they were seeing what sticks with the first time, you know?
Yeah, I think that would be a healthy assessment.
Okay.
And it's also too. It's like one thing that I couldn't help but notice is that there was a lot of like really heavy stuff as these side plots, and I think maybe that's why it didn't get renewed. Like, I could understand if we were a couple seasons in and we started to unpack one of these things an episode, but having them all immediately occur was, I don't know, it was just
I
shocking.
think,
Even for like an early
yeah,
90s TV shows, it was a lot. I was
I
like,
think Aaron Spelling was just trying to catch up to 90210. Like, oh, we already had 3 seasons. Let's get everybody up to speed with as many like dramatic things that can happen to a young adult, because they were specifically dealing with teenagers and high schoolers in that, and they're like, oh fuck, now we're out of high school. There's so many things we can do. Let's knock a girl up. Let's have a drive-by shooting because it's the early 90s, which we haven't seen every episode. There's probably a drive-by.
we can only assume. Yeah.
Uh, there's oh, just so many things that I forgot everybody's name, so it's hard to tell, but there's a lot of really cool crossovers when we're talking to Zach Throne. I was like, oh my god, you were in 6 episodes of 90210. And that was the Aaron Spelling connection, but also we just learned Zach is just like a very cool guy, very professional, and that's why he shows up and kind of gets work. But I was very excited to have remembered his face. It felt familiar. There's also another 90210 alum in this show, which is the guy that joins the band later, played by,
Oh,
what's his
interesting.
name? Sean David Thompson. Is that right?
Yeah, Sean David Thompson, JT.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he plays, he is like one of the villains in 90210. He's the abusive boyfriend
Oh,
of Donna,
geez.
played by Tori Spelling, Aaron Spelling's daughter. So like, I didn't even know, but the people I were watching it with were like, dude, that's like a legit singer. Like, he's an actual music star. And I was like, that guy, Ray, he like threw somebody down the steps. He's an evil man. And then Zach Throne was also in Cop Rock, which was a pandemic watch for me. So there's I was excited. This show was cheesy and wholesome, and actually had some band stuff. So we'll try to get back to that. I'm blabbering, but
Well, no, no, I think that's all good, like, foundational stuff. And especially you know, some of the people in here, this is like one of their first gigs. Like really, they went on to do other things, but this show was kind of like the dry run for how do we do this? And because of their connections and their versatility, they ended up getting other work. And one of the things that Zach kind of elucidated for us is everyone in this show that was in the band had to at least be somewhat literate in music.
Yes.
They had
And
to.
it shows.
It shows for sure. One funny thing I think is worth mentioning is at the beginning of the episode, Zach's character is recording the sound of a garbage truck that he then
Oh.
samples at the band practice, which is what makes them stop playing in that opening scene because they're like, how am I supposed to solo over a garbage truck sound? And I just think it's hilarious that he's like running around the city grabbing obscure city noises to
He was
sample
ahead of
during
his time.
playing.
That guy, he turned out to be one of the founders of Kraftwerk. So joke on us.
Yeah, we can't, he was ahead of his time, really. But the one of the things I did like about this show is that, and it's one of my complaints sometimes
You are such a hypocrite. I don't even know what
uh
you're gonna say.
about California Dreams. There's more band. There's more band. There's more talking about band. There's more
Yes.
people playing. There's them like trying to work out the songs. Like I feel like California Dreams now, especially, it's become the band is the subplot and the main
Total
plot of the
Sobot. And that's a
episode.
total boner, but it is what it is. We're gonna keep rolling with it. If you're here to listen about California Dreams, not
You
this
were
week, baby.
mistaken.
Yeah.
It's not this time. But
I do yeah,
you
I
know,
do appreciate.
I like the fact that we open with the band and at least these people, I'm sure, aren't playing everything live because they're obviously recording a TV show, but
Yeah,
at least the miming of their playing is believable. And as Zach explained, like they had to play, you had to play. It was a prerequisite for being on this show and being one of the band members. So the musical component of this show I find to be a lot more believable. Um, it's they still really hype up like the band drama. I don't know
mhm.
if I've ever had this much drama in any band I've ever been in,
You
but
haven't lived,
I
sir.
guess not. I guess not. But I did really. I like that about this show is that the music component of it for me was at least somewhat more believable than
Well, I
California
think that
Dreams.
I appreciate the fact that, like, it's the pilot, but they threw us in. And it's not like California Dreams where they started the first episode is called the first show. Like they've been a band for a while, but they never had a show. But like this, this is a fully established band. They already have some tension and stuff, so you just kind of get dropped into this world, which I do appreciate. And that kind of opens it up that you can have more band drama, and it's a little more believable. So, like when they go to this poetry show, sure, this is a
That's what you
'90s
did
thing,
back then. That's what you did.
and the
We've lost
lead,
our appreciation for spoken word, Pete. Okay, come on.
sorry, it might be a poetry slam. My bad. But they have this line in there that, like, I guess the lead guitarist is also the singer, but he big horn dog, this guy, and as soon as he goes over to hit on a girl, like the acoustic guitar player in the band is like, the bigger the jerk, the better the lead singer. So they were touching on some legitimate points, and I have to give them credit for that. The whole poetry thing was very silly. There's two or three people pining over the same girl, and it was very hard to keep track. Um, I don't really want to get into that, but
Well,
that poem was ace.
you did kind of call it on the will they won't they between the acoustic guitar player and
Oh,
the
for
lead singer.
sure.
Like as the episodes progress, that becomes much more of an involved story, or like them,
And
one.
it's never messed up a band in the entire history of the world.
Yeah,
So
sure.
it's
Yeah,
only a
it's
good idea to
only
fuck
a
your
good
band
idea.
members.
uh, and and uh, I I I was honestly shocked. Like
Shocked.
the first 5 minutes, it's just the establishing of them trying to write this song and kind of struggling with it and having the typical band disputes of, I should do this. Well, I need to do this, or I need to be inspired in this way to be able to complete this thing. So there's like some frustration with the direction, I guess, of the writing process in the band. And as Pete said, the opening song to this one is a different song, and it really makes me appreciate the other song when they come in. So they go to this well, I think it might be worth mentioning too, like before they even get to the poetry slam, within the first 10 minutes of the episode, we find out that the drummer's girlfriend is pregnant, right? And
Of course, it's the drummer that knocked up his girlfriend and didn't use protection.
It's always the case. Literally every time it happens.
Yeah.
And like Pete was saying, she's not in the band, but that she does kind of she is a character. She is a main character in that sense. She is to be included and not to be forgotten. And if you had watched the other episodes, you'd find out that
this was not part of the homework to watch the entire fucking season. You basically watched a British series at this point with the amount of time you've spent on the Heights, and we only had to watch the first episode because
I love the BBC, so I have no complaints there.
I love BBCs,
but they're at this poetry slam, and I didn't see this coming. Like I heard Talk to an Angel because we had been talking about it, so I listened to that separately from watching the show, and I didn't even get when what's this character's name? When JT is basically, they're at this poetry slam, and JT gets up to the microphone and essentially confesses his love for the saxophone player in the band. Right. It's like, this poem's written for you. I didn't realize those were the lyrics to the song. That's how well it was embedded in the story of this episode, as I didn't even realize that.
I also did not until this moment. So
are you serious?
Okay. Yeah, I didn't. Yes, because
my God.
I only know the chorus to that song. The rest I've tried to block out.
He says when he's reciting the poem, he's like, "How do you talk to an angel?"
He says rhetorical. I can't understand unless it's in sing-song verse.
Yeah, I guess that does.
No,
make sense.
It makes sense. It's just him reciting this poem to a crush of his. It was super cringy, and I appreciated that.
But that's how you confessed your love as a young 20s adult in New York City.
I just a New York adjacent city
poetry club.
I think it's hilarious that everybody keeps shitting on what's her name? Is it Hope? The acoustic guitar player. They're like, if nobody likes your songs, we're gonna outsource this song to this random guy that is he's already very possessive of 100%. This sax player. And like 100%. Jumping to the end of the episode, they have heard the lyrics obviously, and they're like, nobody has gotten music for this. They're like, basically it's a blues riff in B, watch me for the changes, try to keep up kind of thing. They all play this song perfectly, and then it is the song. That's when it unlocked in my head. I was like, no, this song. And that's just a major humiliation for this acoustic guitar player, who was testing all of her songs out in that, on the basketball court, which I thought was weird.
That was super weird. And yeah, that doesn't get better. That's like kind of another subplot.
No, they keep going back there. That's like their quad.
They keep shitting up. Well,
they aren't in college. How dare you?
Not necessarily the basketball thing, but her trying to like suggest ideas and like constantly getting shit on. But to be fair, her ideas were terrible.
Pretty terrible.
Pretty bad. Like, how can you expect to get signed by a major corporation if you're singing a song about fuck the corporations? Not every band can be Green Day.
That's the underlying moral of this episode.
The baby thing though was heavy. That was heavy. That was a big part of this episode.
Are you telling me there's an abortion? Like, does that come around? Like, I'm not saying that an abortion happens, but is that in the conversation?
I kind of picked that up. I can't remember at what point. Maybe it's when they're at the pool hall, but the
Can we
bass
talk about
players
the pool hall?
pool hall seems rad as hell, not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's not as cool as like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, uh like the warehouse of fun. But like this pool hall, not only do you get some fun times and some babes, but you get the father figure who's also in this. He's the bass player's
Bass player's
father,
dad, yeah.
who is doling out advice,
Well, not at first.
willy-nilly.
Not at first. And one of the I think one of the funnier parts of the show is the drummer, the guy who got his girlfriend pregnant. He's going to the pool hall to seek advice from his friend, the bass player guy.
Okay.
And at some
Stan
point,
Lee.
Stan Lee, the comic Wunderkind, but he's like trying to get advice from Stan's dad, and Stan's dad literally says nothing. He doesn't like brush him off. He says nothing.
You're right.
And he does that, very typical 90s thing where it's like, oh, great talk after nothing is said, but then like later in the episode, you get like this heartfelt moment where he's like really struggling with, what do I do? Do I ask her to marry me? Do I be a father, like an active father in this kid's life? But I think at some point in the pool hall, there's a conversation that he's having with Stan where he's like, Stan asks, like, what are you going to do? And at first I thought the undertone there was abortion, but what I think that really means is like, are you going to marry her? I don't know. I don't know if they were entertaining that, but that I did kind of get that feeling. But then basically the what he's struggling with over this episode and the next couple episodes are like, how am I going to contribute to this kid's life? How am I going to be, he goes through the same thing that a lot of people have, the existential crisis, especially people who become parents when they're young. They're like, my life is over.
Yeah. And he's a drummer to boot. So he's got
just
a
like
lot
shit
of
on
decisions
top of
to
shit.
make.
Yeah.
It's funny because speaking of 90210, I was on a Lifetime movie kick and I watched this movie with Brian Austin Green, who played David Silver in 90210. It's a movie where he's in a band and he knocks a girl up and then he has to take care of this kid because like the mom just like bounces, and it's called Unwed Father. So there's some parallels there because I don't know. I have nobody else to talk about this movie.
Was he the drummer?
No, he's the lead singer. And you know what I always say? The bigger the jerk, the better the lead singer, right?
That is what you always say that. Yeah,
I'm
you do
always
say that.
saying that. I don't. I was writing my notes, and every time there's a scene change, I'm like, somebody's house, another house. Like this was like lightning fast, and I just kept calling the character.
Compared to California Dreams, where there's like 3 sets.
I understand. You're not wrong.
I get
and
it's
outside,
easier to keep track.
The first shot of the Heights was actually outside. Already a leg up on California Dreams.
Yeah.
Get your shit together. I don't know what any of these people did.
There was also that scene where the drummer's girlfriend's dad takes him out to the docks.
I love it. Yeah.
Smacking a wrench in his hand, like, oh, damn, are they going to kill? Is this guy connected to the mob?
I think he's like, you got to start working. You got to drop out of this band, drop out of your liberal arts school, and start taking care of this bastard child, and marry my daughter, make her an honest woman, So.
Well, he goes. Well, I can't remember what his last name is, but he's like, and sons. And the drummer's like, what? He's like, oh, Abramowitz and sons. And you realize the girlfriend's dad is saying, you come work for my plumbing company. I guess here's the other thing, and I've never been able to reconcile this.
The plumbing empire of Saskatoon. Yes.
I guess, yeah, exactly. I guess he's the number 1 plumber in Vancouver. I guess I never understood. I guess maybe this was just a thing. Like if you were trying to pursue a life in music in the 90s, you wouldn't settle for any other job. But I've never understood why they wouldn't also have jobs. Like even the bands that I love I
didn't know what jobs they even had.
Well, yeah, we get a few. Stan obviously works at the pool hall, right?
Yeah,
Lead
Nepo
singer,
baby. I guess he does work at the pool hall.
lead singer is homeless. He just lives in that warehouse that his
No,
parents bought him.
he's a mechanic. There's that
Oh, that's
scene where
right. That's right.
he's flirting with the girl in his band, which is breaking all the rules. I mean, look at you, California Dreams, and he's definitely has like a little bit of soot and grease on his face. So I'm
Well,
like,
you can tell he really knows what he's doing, you know?
dude, it's like a fucking underwear model, like cosplaying as
Yeah.
a tradie. I didn't buy it.
100%. 100%. And the saxophone player works at like the shipping depot.
Yeah, I have no idea what she does. She has a lab coat on at one point, and then she goes to her
It's
house, and all her family members are cops, like
yeah,
security guards, and they're all trying to
blue
get her
collar.
laid by this other dude. They're
Yeah,
like,
who's a cop?
you need to fuck one of our boys in blue, you know, so the family can be one incestuous unit.
Well, I also like the job that she works. That's she works at at like a loading a company that's like I think there's kegs in the background or something. I think one of my favorite scenes is when the guy who wrote the poem for her comes to visit her at work. He just
Yeah,
like walks in. Nobody stops. This was like pre 9/11, so there was no
of course.
security anywhere. And he walks in and she's like basically what her job is she's like directing a yard of people who are shipping and
She's
receiving
a white
or
hat. That's what
yeah,
she is.
sure, sure. But she's like calling out orders over the microphone. And when she starts talking to this guy and smooching with him, there's a guy in the background who's like, hey, what are you gonna do? I was convinced there was
Mhm.
gonna be some like catastrophic event. And I
Oh,
was just
like
waiting for like a huge crash and then like, what who wasn't calling this out? This terrible accident. But I
they're gonna
wasn't
find
that lucky.
they're gonna find dead girls in a can like The Wire.
That'd be an interesting crossover.
Okay. Well, I did like in this show how the drummer and bass player were like really tight because I love that, and it's rare.
Well,
So
they did give a little more attention to detail with the music in this show. Not
they
to
did.
beat an
I
entirely
mean,
dead
look,
horse, but
like you always gonna have tension in bands, especially when there's more people. It's tense. It's chaotic. It's anxiety inducing. Just trying to get everybody together on the same page at the same place at the same time. And it's more mouths to feed too. Like it's if this, you know, if they're not making royalties off this "Touched by an Angel" song, I know that's not what it's called, but
the drummer's about to have a kid, man. It's another mouth to feed, you know?
you think the kid? I mean, have you seen that far ahead where the kid is now has a
No, no.
personality and it's a full blown
I
character?
didn't make it to that point. They're still I don't even think I made it to a point where she's like showing a pregnancy, but um the drummer goes through some struggles. I'll just give you a little bit of a spoiler alert there. But I
Wow.
also I think there was one part in this episode where I was there's two parts actually. So
Right.
there's the part where they're at like the basketball court park thing, right?
The
And
quad. Yes.
the sax player runs into another one of her friends who I guess maybe at one point she had a crush on,
Right.
and the guy that read her the poem sees her talking to him
Yes.
and he like spazzes.
So this is like three guys after this sax player who
Well,
is
she's really good at playing the
horny.
sax.
That's what
Yeah,
she is.
exactly. Exactly my point.
So it was a lot. We already have over a love, like we have a love square instead of a triangle going on this in this first episode. But do you see how mad that uh Ray from 90210 got when he saw her smooching somebody else? That's just his crush. They have not gone on a date. They are not together in any capacity, and he was fucking livid.
Well, he thinks that she's an angel,
And how do you
and he
talk to one of them?
and
I don't know.
how do you do that? He also I thought it was funny too, like later. So she sees him spaz and she thinks that's weird, but then she goes to meet him at his very scary apartment.
That's a trap house.
Yeah,
That's
I wouldn't
100% a trap house.
if you saw that guy react violently to you talking to another guy, would you go to his really scary apartment and be alone with him in his apartment?
I mean, it's
It was
better
a
than a
simpler
boring
time.
guy,
Yeah, it was
right?
just a simpler time.
It's pre 9/11, of course.
Yeah.
We finally get to the end of the episode after all this. Anyway, I'm not trying to rush along, but there's so many different plot points that we might touch on if we do other episodes. But I kind of want to talk a little about the music aspect when they finally get together and they finally play this song. All 7 band members coalescing perfectly.
But okay, look, to be fair, I guess this is probably when I was like, all right, I'll watch another episode, is because like there was all this chaos in the center, like all these different things we're talking about that were very strange and very dramatic. And at the end of this episode, they all reconvene and put their drama aside and connect with music. Okay. And they're struggling to write this song. And the guy that wrote the poem comes in and they're going to like give him a chance. And he's like, wait, let me play this. And to be fair, this song isn't hard. And he plays like a verse.
You were playing guitar while watching it.
I was playing guitar. It wasn't hard to play along to. So I was literally doing this while it happened. Okay. They don't just all start playing the song. He plays a verse and a chorus, and then the rest of the members kind of step in, and the end of the episode culminates in them like hitting the magic of playing this song. So, you kind of misrepresented that, all right, because they didn't all just immediately know it. He just played a very simple chord progression, verse and chorus, and everyone just started contributing. And by the second chorus, they've got a fully fleshed song and are ready for their first record deal.
I mean, I would sign them. If I was running by, like a la Zack Attack and Saved by the Bell, that's how they got signed.
The song the song actually did numbers. Like, we're not exaggerating when we're saying that.
They're definitely getting royalties still to this day.
It actually did numbers. So from the perspective of like 90s music, this was a banger.
I will concede that. Definitely soft rock, that kind of side, but it was all the rage.
That was that was the thing. Like, and that, I guess that's what I'm saying is like, we can rip on it all we want, but the bottom line is that if it was a shit song, it wouldn't have done well on the radio. It wouldn't have become such a hit that they were being mobbed in the street.
It's like, it also wouldn't have become the theme song, which it did. They immediately dropped the pilot theme song.
Yeah,
and
I think
they did this.
That was intended. Okay.
And you think that?
Yeah,
no.
I said that at the beginning of this. 100%. They intended to get rid of that. They didn't want to reveal Talk to an Angel before the band writes it because continuity would suggest that that's impossible.
You're such a Heights apologist. I don't even know where to begin. That's fine.
It was great.
You love this song.
It was see, okay, so like I think about comparisons to California Dreams, all right?
Yes.
This season we've got a new guy who is a songwriting piano virtuoso and it was going to aid in their songwriting, yet I haven't seen him aid in their songwriting.
I haven't seen Mark do shit in California Dreams yet.
But this episode, they give the new guy a shot and he writes literally a 90s banger that charted in reality. This
superseded the parallel dimension where the Heights lived on, and they made him CEO of the band right away.
Immediately, it was unanimous decision from the board.
Like, I think that acoustic guitar player later in the season is going to get relegated to being a tambourine player, maybe a backup singer, and then this guy is going to be writing everything. So
she might even break off and start her own band.
I would love that to be a plot point. I want to see some rival bands.
I'm not saying that because it is. I'm wishful thinking.
Are you breadcrumbing us here? I mean, if there's anybody who has unbridled rage, it's going to be this acoustic guitar player who's constantly shit on.
Yeah, 100%. There's another tie back to California Dreams, but what's her name?
This is a lot of people to fit in one loft. band practice.
Dude, that loft is 10,000 square feet. Have you? That used to be like a warehouse.
It is now an Amazon fulfillment center.
Yeah,
actually,
100%. Yes, that is reality. This space is huge. It's like the Friends apartment. You know, like nobody in New York had an apartment like that unless you had millions of dollars in the 90s, you know?
Well, and like this Saved by the Bell, the college years, that was also on for one season, you know, around this time where it was like nobody lives like two huge fucking bedrooms and then a huger common room.
Yeah.
Not reality, but we're gonna go for it. Speaking of maybe reality, what did you think of the miming for this last song? There's a couple choices that some of these characters made. I will just tick them. The drummer is left-handed. I thought that was gross. But he had to be real. I thought Jake Summers did a better job faking a guitar solo than this guy did. But we were told by Zach Throne that they actually learned the solos, and I'm like, no, I disagree with your revisionist history, because there's a point where this guitarist is playing over the neck and he's ripping a solo. No.
Yeah, I am gonna stand by. I think
Of course you are.
The miming in this show is considerably
I think
better as a whole.
It's on average better, but I'm just nitpicking here. This final song, maybe it's because they never played it before.
Well, okay, but we also we got to think about it in terms of like editing, right?
Mm-hmm,
so they had a shot of him playing just his hands playing the guitar. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the exact moment he was soloing or miming the solo while they were recording. It's just the best shot, or the shot that they thought would be best.
They didn't know 33 years later I'd be watching and really
that's their fatal flaw. Yes. That's the I think one of my other favorite parts about that whole montage is how they like intersperse it with like shots of the band doing stuff.
Yes, I love that.
That's like they already had the music video together. I don't know. That was a
that's
bit
very California Dreams, by the way.
Yeah.
So anybody saying they
actually
didn't
reminded
know
me of the opening. Yeah.
Yeah. What was that? Greta Van Fleet. This is like them when they get asked a question like, "Who was your inspiration?" and they're like,
Led Zeppelin. Who?
I've never mentioned them, and I'm like, you guys love California Dreams, and you're taking notes.
Well, and I can't remember exactly what he confirmed for the Canadian connection, but what wasn't something about California? Didn't Zach confirm something about California Dreams?
Oh, I mean, we're gonna have to wait till we edit the episode and remember what he said, because we went over a lot, and I'm really excited to put that one out.
He really did answer a lot of the.
He did actually say he would come back on and talk about both California Dreams and an episode of The Heights. So we rarely get, an insight this deep into this world. And James is going to be the one mobbing him at a mini mall at some point when he comes back on this episode, because you are a super fan now of The Heights.
I already have a Heights tattoo. So
where did you get
it?
And
I think the best part about this show is that it's taught me how to talk to an angel.
Oh, fuck off. I love that this band is basically Fleetwood Mac, and everybody's going to be fucking each other at some point, and there's going to be a ton of drama and a lot of cocaine, and I can't wait to watch more episodes.
We've even got a Stevie Nicks. She plays acoustic guitar. She's got blonde hair, and she's clearly emotionally unstable.
Stevie Nicks could write a fucking song, know. And I would listen to
the
Stevie
cocaine,
Nicks, I would listen to Stevie Nicks at a basketball court. Okay, that's the difference here.
But would you listen to pre-cocaine Stevie Nicks at a basketball court? I think not.
I mean, I don't know when that exists. I don't know when that the 15-year-old Stevie Nicks. I don't know. I'd love that. Just to put a cap on it, my last note is that Aaron Spelling did this. Like, it's so ominous. It's just because I didn't know until the end of the episode, and I was like, "Oh fuck, that makes a lot of sense."
I didn't know until Zach said it. Like, I completely missed that in the credits, but as soon as he said that, it was like light bulb going off. Like,
for sure.
Man, so much of this stuff connects.
Yeah, he was like that guy that just made all those boy bands in the 90s and ended up molesting most of them. But metaphorically speaking, he just had his hands in a lot of cookie jars.
Did he have like a controversy? I don't remember. I remember
No, I
Tori
mean,
Spelling having more problems than Aaron
well, the
Spelling.
fact is, like, he was adamant that Tori Spelling would remain a virgin on 90210, no matter what. And it got to a ridiculous degree. Everybody was fucking, and then Tori Spelling was a virgin. And then they made her get married basically on her last year of like high school or first year of college or something in 90210 just so they could have, sex plots with her.
Oh my God, that is.
And it's
I wouldn't
real
necessarily say
creepy.
it's weird, but not
Yeah.
necessarily a scandal.
Not a
Uh,
scandal. As far
I,
as I know.
you know,
Squeaky clean.
well, and how Zach spoke about it, he said, he had a great experience, and
Mhm.
at least from what we've learned from this show and what people have gone on to do, like, even though this show didn't succeed, it seems like Aaron Spelling was like always looking for a way to kind of get them into one of the other things he was working on, or
Sure.
I don't know if it's because he felt bad that this one didn't take off as well as anyone had hoped, but
Yeah, that was I did kind of like they did the way Zach talked about it, the Zach Throne, not our old Zach. The way he talked about it, it was like they actually really cared. It was like a lot like grueling days, but they all actually showed up for work. So like that
and
sucks
got
to like go
along.
through all that. Yeah, and that's also a rarity that everybody kind of gets along well and then it's just like, yeah, it didn't work out.
Well,
Like
but
all this work.
doesn't that make sense? Like the one scenario where it's like a healthy situation where young
Mhm.
adults are making a show,
Yeah.
it doesn't get renewed. It doesn't
Yeah,
get
it's just like it
picked
wasn't
up,
given
and
its footing. It just didn't not the right time slot or something. Like there's so many things that are left out of your control when you put stuff like this out. They can't all be super successes like Surf Dudes with Attitude, where it just immediately hits the right demographic right away and you just blow up instantly. So
yeah. Yeah,
I
I would like to see some comparisons though between, because I remember we were, at least it's my understanding that it was like on the outset, California Dreams and the band, it was supposed to be like they were going to take the band out into the real world. Like the
yeah.
band was going to be an extension of the show, but they were going to put out records and they were going to
Mhm.
tour. Um, and I don't know if they were uh, uh, trying to do the same thing with this one to that degree, but Zach did say they did play shows and everyone played well. So
Yeah. And I was very surprised to hear that there wasn't a reunion show. He said one might be cooking, but we'll see. You got to listen to that episode. Um, Real quick, let's give some awards out based on our California dreams. And so, real quick for me, I'm going to say the best mime. We're going to give the Tony to probably the left-handed drummer under protest, but he gets it. And then I'm going to give the God, it's been so long. I'm going to give the Jenny out to the guitar player for doing the upside down guitar thing. I didn't buy
wow,
it, and I don't like it.
wow.
But who I'd want to be in a band with? I'm gonna say the bass player because, like, I want free games of pool.
His dad seemed pretty cool too.
Yep, yep. I don't know. Do you have any awards you'd like to add to that, James?
Oh man, I would say, see, I would kind of disagree with you, and this, I would give the worst. eh, I would give the worst mime award to the drummer. But now that I'm
Interesting.
thinking about it, I when I was watching him play, I was like, man, is he like behind? But now that I'm thinking about it, it was probably
He's
just
just
the shitty
left-handed.
quality of the video
I
on
mean, that's true
YouTube.
too.
Like there's probably this isn't what we would have seen on TV. So I'll agree with you. Let's give it to the lead guitar player.
Mhm.
Worst performance for sure.
Okay, okay.
Best saxophone player.
Interesting. I mean, easier to mime, obviously. Uh, Unless like you actually know what you're looking at with
Yeah,
the fingers and stuff. I do not.
I don't, but it at least felt now. I mean, I've watched a bajillion horn players play, and that felt believable. Plus, it's like it's such a it's like a random. in a 90s band, I would expect there to be, you know, like 2 guitar players, bass player, drummer, definitely keyboard player, saxophone
This
player.
chick is out
It's
here
not Dave
Baker
Matthews,
Streeting
okay?
everywhere.
Yeah, you know, like I was like, all right, that's a real strange juxtaposition that we're just gonna assume that like every band has a sax player.
You know what?
But she
I
did
think the
pretty well.
Lethal Weapon soundtrack would like to have a word with you, James,
That was
because
the
it was
80s.
the pinnacle
Okay.
of cool.
That was the 80s though, and
It
that was,
seeped
you
into
know,
the 90s like
a
toxic
sexy
waste into a pond.
yeah, it infected a whole other decade. But I thought that she did that well. Even like when they were writing the song and she's like hearing it, she's like, "Ooh, what am I gonna play?"
Yeah.
And then she starts playing over top. I was like, "All right, that's good." What award am I missing? Who would I most want to be in the band with?
Yeah, the big
I'd
one.
most want to be in a band with Zach Throne because Zach Throne was the shit.
He was really fucking cool.
I was like,
I think he's the comedic relief of the show, if I'm not mistaken, right?
At least of the band, yeah, for sure of the band. He's like the one character who's, at least in the episodes I saw, like mostly drama free. He's
Great.
just there for the band and like to reinforce the members of the band with whatever struggles they're going through. And that's the kind of person you want to be in a band with.
I mean, you said it all. And normally I would never I've never given an award to any keyboard player, but he fucking earned it. And I don't know. I do we do more episodes of The Heights? I think at least I'm curious enough to see where some of this goes. I don't know if you guys want to contact us and tell us, definitely do it, definitely don't. surfdudeswithattitude@gmail.com. We probably won't listen. We'll do it anyway. And I don't know, like, this was a surprise for me. I had a tough time getting through it, but after talking to Zach during our interview and now talking to you now, I'm like, okay, it's not too bad, you know. So
you
we'll
know,
see
and
what
look,
it's like.
I struggled with it that night. I laid awake in my bed for hours, asking, "Is there something wrong with me? Like, is it okay that I like this show? Do I have COVID right now?" Like, I couldn't tell if there was like some other underlying medical issue that was making me like this show more.
Probably a symptom of a long hauler for sure.
It's gotta be. Maybe it's sepsis. I don't know, internal bleeding somewhere.
Lupus,
But
I think, yeah.
all I'm saying is that I was pleasantly surprised, and again, you guys had prefaced it with like, the song is so cheesy, the song is so corny, but it is hilarious that you had no idea. I love 90s rock music.
It's crazy for how much shit talk you've done of California Dreams.
Really?
So.
Well,
Maybe
could we classify that?
Turned.
Could we classify that as 90s rock music? Let's be serious here.
It is definitely adult.
It's rock that occurred in the 90s, but is it 90s rock?
Is it actually
music?
rock? You know,
is it live?
It's a low bar. Bar.
It's a real low bar.
Anyway,
but it could be a speedball, you know.
Anyway, that's going to do it here for us at Surf Dudes with Attitude. Thank you for whisking away with us for another side project episode. We're going to be back with more California Dreams next week. So please stay tuned for that. And James, thank you so much for taking this journey with us.
Hey, I had a blast. And don't forget, if you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. It goes a long way and it really means a lot.
Surf Dudes with Attitude at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Yeah, and I guess until next time, how do you talk to an angel? You know?
You just yell.
Oh, okay.
You yell really loud.
This has been a Waning Moon production.